Hello everybody, welcome to the shop. In today's episode, we're going to do two things. One, I want to update you on the barn. We've got a lot of things going on with the barn here. We've got both lean-tos fully framed up, all the rafters and purlins in, and everything's tied down. Here are the beams that I built. These are laminated, glued and screwed together 2x10s with OSB in the middle. There's 4 actual beams. I have them all banded together to help keep them nice and straight. It looks like the storm last night blew a little bit of the plastic off. We'll get that taken care of once the moisture dries out. Those beams will go at the top of those poles, the center poles, and that gin pole I'm going to build is going to lift them up there. It's taken me a lot longer than I thought because I hired a group of guys, or agreed to hire them to help me, and they could never seem to show up. There was always something else going on. I figured originally this would take about a day and a half to a day, depending on how many people actually showed up to work to get this framed. It's taken me weeks. My friend Chris Britton that helped me with the windmill, he did show up and help me out some. That was a big help. As you can imagine, 54 rafters, not to count all of the purlins that have to go up, and you have to carry them all up one at a time by yourself. It becomes a real pain in the legs, or the feet, or the lower back, depending on how you want to look at it. But got it done. Pretty pleased with it. If you notice the lumber that's on the barn, it's all just number 2 pine. I think it's number 2 spruce, actually. Stud grade lumber. Notice it has a color to it. An old farmer told me a trick to help keep the wood boring bees, mud daubers, and wasps. He said they've done it for years on barns, and that's to take the old used diesel motor oil, mix it with some kerosene, and paint it on. Now, before you freak out and say, oh my gosh, you made a gigantic blowtorch and the first sign of a spark, the whole thing's gonna catch on fire and turn into a pile of rubble. It goes on just like stain. As soon as you put it on, it soaks right into the wood, and within a few minutes, the wood's pretty dry to the touch. The wood-destroying organisms like the wood-boring bees, they just don't like the carbon, so they stay away from it. They find something else to go dig a hole in, which is good. And it cost me essentially nothing because I had a lot of the motor oil here. So I gave it a try, and I'm actually very pleased. I gave the wood a nice color. Not that I was super worried about that to begin with, but the only thing I didn't do was the center beam, because that was made out of PT lumber, pressure treated. Now I wish I had, because it would have matched, but I may go back later and just brush some on. Those beams go at the top of those poles, and the trusses will sit on it. It'll give me a 40x50 open span to put trailers and the like in. Also, if I have something big that I'm working on I can't fit in the shop, I can actually come out here and weld on it if I need to. We're ready to put metal on the roof, but I don't want to do that quite yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put plywood up on top of the lean-tos and use it like scaffolding for setting the trusses in the center section. Now, speaking of the trusses, I need to set the header beams, and the trouble that I'm having is I don't have enough height with any of the tractors that I have here on the farm to get to 14 feet to set these beams. Now, these beams aren't massive, but they're pretty heavy. I'm estimating they probably weigh around 250 to 300 pounds apiece. So respectively, we're not talking about a ton of weight, but what I do need is a ton of height, because this beam, once I put rigging on it, this height right here adds more height that I actually have to have. So here's what I have in mind. If this is my tractor, and my tractor has a loader on the front of it, and that has a grapple bucket. There's a hydraulic cylinder right here to open and close the grapple. What I would like to do is rig a pole, configure it in such a way that I bring the boom over, drop it into the grapple bucket, gravity holds it in place, possibly with a pin, raise up, do the lifting that I need to do. I can bring the bucket right back down to the ground, pull the pin, take this gin pole right off the front of the tractor, and go right back to doing what I was going to do. I imagine that I'm probably going to add some sort of truss right here to strengthen this. We'll put a lifting eye right here, and there's some major structure right here on the bucket I can tie into that. It's going to be fairly straightforward. I just got to kind of figure out how I'm going to do it. All right, so here's the grapple on the tractor. And my idea here is, you can see I got the pole set in place. The pole's just going to lock in between that supporting mount back there in the back and this one right here in the front. And I'll probably lock it in place with a pin and keep it from rolling around, because right now that piece of pipe can just roll wherever. We're going to stop that from happening. If you put a little truss on top of that pole, we'll put a lifting eye on it. This is all drop stuff. Actually, this was going in the recycle pile. So I just lopped off a couple of pieces. One's gonna go there. One's gonna go right here. I'm just gonna use the cutoff wheel on the grinder. I'm gonna cut this off here and open this up so that it's like a C channel, and it's gonna drop over. Same thing here. Take the cutoff wheel and cut this section out. but it's going to fit underneath. I'll be able to drop a couple of pins through there so that we can't lose this thing. It'll grapple here and there. Alright, so these parts are pretty scungy because they came out of the scrap pile. So we'll go over here. Kind of hard to do with one hand. Open up the blast cabinet. Get the parts inside. And we'll give them a quick shot there of the glass and see if we can't clean them out. Here's a shot of them blasted. Not perfect, but I'm okay with that. Just wanted to get most of the yuck off them. We're going to paint them, so it won't matter. We're going to weld all over this. And essentially what this is going to do is this is just going to sit right here. The pipe is going to sit right on top of it, and it just only allows the pipe to move just a little bit back and forth. Same thing, but only the opposite here. This is going to tuck up underneath here, keeps the pipe from being able to move back and forth. Probably put a pin at least through one of these just for safety. But the reality of it is that you've got like 9 feet of pipe sticking out that way. Just the lever action holds everything in place. But for safety's sake and the fact that I got little kids around, we'll go ahead and we'll drill a hole and put like a 1/4-20 bolt, and we'll use that as a pin just for safety's sake. All right, everyone, we've got everything kind of set in position. So we're just going to throw a couple tack welds to hold everything in place. Okay, good. I like it. I want to put a truss structure on the top of this. One of my concerns, and the reason I want to do this, is I've used something similar before when I needed to lift something. And as the tractor transverses across the ground, sometimes you get a little of a springing effect when you're carrying weight. What I want to do is strengthen this truss to take some of the spring out of it, or the flex. I don't want to take all the flex out of it, but what I don't want it to do is be like a limp noodle out there and hit one bump and me to bend it and break it. So what I did is I marked center line on the pipe. Center line here, here, and down there, and then I took the grinder and I cleaned off all the rusty crusties. This is a piece of drop. It's 1-inch square tube, like 3/16 wall. And while it was occurring to me that I needed to do all this, it also occurred to me the reason that I had this piece of pipe. And I had forgotten that I had a specific purpose for this pipe. It's on my honey-do list of things to do for my wife. I bought an antique school bell, or like a church bell. Pull a handle and it rings the bell. She wanted one here on the property, so I bought one a while back. And this 10-foot long or 9.5-foot long pole was going to be the pole for the bell. So let's not tell her. I'll have to find a new piece of pipe. Anyway, we're going to square this up. We're going to weld this right here. I'm going to take this piece of flat bar right here. This is 1-inch flat bar. This thing is crusty. What we're going to do is weld it in place here. We're going to put our bridge here and then attach it down there and make a short truss structure out of it, and hopefully help strengthen this. All right, everybody, I got it over here on the workbench, and one thing I forgot to do, or almost forgot to do, where we have this little angle back here in the back, forgot to make a little piece for it. So this little piece of square tube, cut on an angle. And we're gonna start off by welding that right in there like that. I'm just gonna work our way right down this thing, get everything welded up completely. Let's get it done, it's hot. so we finished up the welding. The last thing to do is to drill the hole for the lifting eye. What I found is a lifting eye that uses a bolt through. This actually goes to the top of a telephone pole. It's with the guy wire that goes down to the ground, hooks into. It'll be plenty strong. It's galvanized. Somebody put some ugly paint on it. I don't know why, but not really consequential. We'll paint it black anyway. What I got to do is I need to get this level, and I need to get it level this way so that we drill a hole straight through so the lifting eye doesn't hang off to one side. So here's how I'm going to do it. Got it on my rest here off my drill press. I put a level in it. It's dead nuts on. I know you can't see it, but it's dead nuts. And then using this as my register, I'm going to take my register off the bottom of this because we know this is going to sit flat horizontal across the bottom of the tractor. I can set this magnetic level in there and rotate it as necessary. It's actually right on. And then come over here and check and make sure that we're in the center of our pipe. We are. So we'll drill our first pilot hole. That's about a 5/16 bit or so. Changing our bits to a bigger bit. We are all the way through. All right, so what I've got here is there's a square-headed bolt out of a telephone pole. A bit on the long side, so I'm going to cut it down. I'll take it over the bandsaw and cut it down, and that'll be our lifting. All right, everyone. We're trying to beat the weather here. I'm not sure if we're going to beat it, but real quickly, I wanted to give you a quick look at what we're doing. Got my two older knuckleheads helping me today, Bo and Luke. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
All right, so here's what we got. Got the box blade on the back. I just want to show you, I did throw some extra weight on the back of the tractor for good measure. Here's the pole that we built, gen pole, jib crane, whatever you want to call it. You can hear the angels up there rearranging the furniture or whatever. It's fixing to let loose. Lovely Florida weather. There's the pen that holds it in place. Can't move left or right because it fits tightly between the gussets for the teeth. There's the trussing. Worked out real well. Here's a beam. The beam is on it. 25 foot long. I've already slung it. Girth hitched it and through a clevis. It's going to go up at the top of those poles. Now, if you look real carefully, right up there on top of these poles, about 18 inches down, you can see right where I've tied blocks of wood. And what I'm going to do is lift this up there and set it right down in place, and then I'll climb up there, clamp it, drill it, and then bolt it. Unfortunately, none of my help has showed up again, which doesn't surprise me, and I got to do it myself. Looks pretty nasty off there, doesn't it? It's coming. You can see this side right here is done, ready. This side right here, we're gonna wait a couple of minutes and see if the weather holds off, and we're gonna get that done. Once those two are done, we are ready to start setting trusses. Getting excited. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw here today. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and like us on Facebook. Please, somewhere down below here is a link. We've got a lot more really cool stuff coming. Is that right, camera guy? Is there a link down there? Send me a comment. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Click whatever link, click something. See you soon.